So in honor of finishing this retaining wall build, I figured I would take this opportunity to take a quick break from the construction and landscape property improvements on the property or that I've been posting on the channel to tell a story that I think a lot of people will probably find interesting. And that story is the story of the time that I had to draw my self-defense tool. My channel's still pretty new, and I'm not completely confident in YouTube's standards on what is and isn't acceptable talking about subjects like this. So there's going to be a lot of like fill in the blank sentences where I'm leaving words out and descriptive words. You guys are going to have to just kind of make connections, or I might use alternative words. I see a lot of people doing that, so I assume it's necessary. I've read the community guidelines and I can't find anything that says that you can't talk about legal use of that type of tool, but I'm still trying to play it safe because my channel's new. I put a disclaimer out there in advance. This story is pretty anticlimactic. I mean, obviously, the story is the time I had to draw it, not the time I had to engage any type of a threat. So obviously nothing happened. The situation, some people may think that the situation is a little bit over dramatized, because I'm sure that people that live up north probably have similar occurrences probably on a fairly regular basis. It's just not something I've ever been exposed to. It was once in a lifetime opportunity, probably. Once in a lifetime experience. I don't know anyone else around here that's ever had anything like this happen to them. So I just want to put that out there in advance. This is just a story, and I'm not trying to over dramatize or stretch the truth or make it seem more dramatic than it was. I'm just going to tell you what happened, how I felt in the moment. If you're disappointed and feel like I'm over dramatizing the situation, sorry. So I ride dirt bikes a lot, and I have for a couple of years. I got my first dirt bike in like 2016, I think, 2015 and 2016. Me and my friends quickly discovered all the off-road trails around the area and started exploring the national forest. We did that. We rode together for a couple of years, and then it kind of died off for them. They lost interest. My interest didn't die off at all. I continued to upgrade and get better and better dirt bikes until eventually I've got a KTM 500 EXC now, a 2020 year model. So I ended up getting a dual sport enduro. It's street legal and still dirt bike, capable. But the past probably 3 to 4 years, I've been riding basically only by myself. Ever since I've been riding by myself, initially I continued to ride the same trails that I used to ride with my friends, which was not smart, and it led to me almost having to spend the night in the woods. And that's a story that I'll tell another time, because that's a pretty interesting story also, but I'm not going to go off on that one. But I learned from that experience that I pretty much am just going to stay on public roads at this point, dirt roads, gravel roads in the national forest, whenever I'm riding alone, because I didn't want something like that to end up happening to me again, or something worse, whenever you're alone with nobody to help you. So on this day I was riding alone, and it was one of the summer months, and I was riding an area that I wasn't familiar with. It was close to an area that I had explored a lot, but I wanted to hit some of the new dirt roads and become more familiar with this national forest. And I went up to an overlook at the top of this mountain, and it was really cool. It was a pretty public day. There's quite a few people up there, but this is national forest still. There's a visitor center up there, but it's like 10 to 15 miles of dirt road to get to it, all through the forest. Single lane road, dirt road, not even gravel. And so I leave this place, and there's a fork in the road, and I've always come from the right way, and it forks left, and I went to go discover, what was down there. So I go down that road, and there's a bunch of little branch off logging roads, and I like to explore this stuff because I like to find new interesting campsites to bring my other friends that I camp with. And so I'm exploring these logging roads, and I went down a few, and most of the time they usually just kind of dead end. They don't end anywhere. But I'm going down this one. It's a pretty fresh road. Like, you can tell that they wrapped up their logging operation within the last year. And so it's pretty open, as I'm coming down. A lot of the big trees are down, and they just kind of leave, one here and there. So you can see, even though it's dense forest, you can see around and stuff. And riding my dirt bike alone, I have my factory exhaust on it, so it's really quiet since it's street legal. That have stricter emissions laws. So it's got a very quiet stock exhaust on it, if any of you guys have ever heard any of the EXCs idle. And so riding alone has presented me the opportunity to ride up on a lot of wildlife. I've seen about 8 black bears, which is uncommon for this area. Black bears it's not common to have black bear sightings around here. And I've seen, all kinds of other animals, but black bears always stick out to me because they're rare to see. But you ride up on them without them ever hearing you. And there's all kinds of other animals. I ride up on deer and raccoons, stuff like that. So I'm coming down this big hill down this road. It's not steep, but it's just a long downhill. So I'm up above everything. So I've got a good sight of everything that's in front of me. And I see this animal running out of the woods on the right side. And it's running really fast, but it's out of the top corner of my eye, because I'm mostly looking at the road right here, and I just kind of see a blur coming way down the road, like 70 or 80 yards probably in front of me. And I notice, I look at it, and I try to focus on it, but I'm moving, and it's moving this way, and it's just I don't know if it's just the way that I remember it or what, but I know in that moment, I couldn't tell what I was seeing. It was long, like it was the same color as a deer, but it was really long and it was shorter than a deer. And it's like stretched out, and it came across that clearing and then across the road and into the woods so fast, I just couldn't tell what I just saw. I was assuming deer because it was that color, and there's not really anything else around this area that's that color but that size. But all these thoughts are going through my head, and I'm like, that had to have been too short to be a deer. And also, I was pretty sure I saw a long tail sticking off the back of it, almost dragging the ground. And so I'm thinking of all this different stuff. I'm thinking maybe a dog, but I don't know what dog would be that shape, that long and low to the ground, but still taller than, most dogs. So I start slowing down before I even get to it. And I think maybe I can get a glimpse of it as I pass it. And so I'm slowing down to get down to probably 15 to 20 miles an hour as I get right to that spot end of the road where I thought I saw it. And I slow down and I look to my left, and it's still right there. It's like 20 yards off the road, maybe even closer, broadside. And I still can't put my finger on what I'm seeing, but I just see this head, this face looking at me as I go by on this broadside body that's the color that I thought it was. And the shape of that head was not a deer. It was round, and I saw these ears sticking off the top, and I passed it, and I just felt like eerie. And I was just thinking, what was that? Because that's no type of animal I've ever seen around here before. And I stop in the road and I think maybe it'll stay, and I can turn around. And I did have the initial thought. I've always believed that there's mountain lions here. Because I've heard the story. I've talked to a couple people that have seen them before, and I've seen the reports. I've seen pictures, local people see them and they post pictures, but there's just so many people around here that are so convinced that they're not here. But the Game and Fish has confirmed that they're around here, but there's still so many people that don't believe it. And I have especially learned that ever since. So I had that thought, but it's like I couldn't even convince myself that that's what I just saw. I was thinking, I have to be seeing things. And so I turn around and I start slowly going back, and I'm looking right where it was, and boom, it's still there. It's still in the exact same spot. And this is where I made my first dumb decision that could have ended bad. I turn my bike off, and then I stop and I get off and walk around to the other side. So now I don't have my bike between me and it anymore, and it's off. So if I needed to flee, I wouldn't have time to get on it, start it, and put it in gear and take off. So I'm standing there and I'm looking at it, and now I've been looking at it for a couple of seconds. And I knew at that point that it was a mountain lion, but I hadn't convinced myself. But I still, my actual belief was still, this has to be something else, because I've heard too many people talk about how they're not in the area. Like, I just couldn't believe that this was happening. It was like I was seeing Sasquatch or something. So I'm standing there looking at this thing. I knew it was a cat for sure. That's what I was convinced. I was telling myself, I was like, that's some type of cat. But it was big. Its back its back was probably that high off the ground. And it's standing there broadside to me, looking at me, and I could see its tail behind it, you know, twitching. And at this point, I'm trying to think of something that you guys can see here. Probably me to that Nissan truck. I think you guys can see that brown truck right there. It's about that distance from it. So like I said, probably 20-ish yards, and it's uphill from me. And it's standing there next to this tree, and I'm just standing there staring at it. And my first thought is, I have to get a picture or a video. I have to get a video of this thing, or no one's ever gonna believe me that I saw this, besides my dad. So before I pull out any type of defensive mechanism, I pull my phone out and I start recording a video. And as I'm recording a video of this thing, it's just staring me down. And it is not afraid of me at all. I've never, like I said, there's not a lot of predatory animals around here. It's coyotes. It's pretty much the only thing you'll ever see. And bears, but the bears around here are so skittish. They're like dogs. And coyotes, you know, the same way. No one gets attacked by coyotes. So all that stuff, there's just not dangerous animals around here besides snakes. And even those are super scared of you. So I was getting goosebumps looking at this thing because I've never been face to face with an animal that's just not afraid of me at all. You could just tell by the look on its face and the way it's staring at me that it was just watching. And it's just looking me right in the face. And all I'm wearing, it was summer. So in summer, I don't wear a shirt when I'm riding my dirt bike because I'm usually trying to even out my tan a little bit. So I'm wearing just these same exact pants that I'm wearing right now, work boots. I may have been wearing my motocross boots, but probably was just wearing work boots since I was just riding on dirt roads, and my backpack and my helmet. I did at least have a helmet on, but that's not gonna protect me. So I'm recording this video, and I start thinking, and I've got nothing between me and this cat. It's just bushes, not even trees, just like some brush, and my dirt bike's behind me and off in neutral, and I'm standing there recording this, and I start stepping closer to it. And I'm recording because I'm thinking I can't see its tail in this video. No one's gonna believe me if I don't get its tail in the frame. And then that's when the idea or the thought kind of hits me, because like I said, up to this moment, I hadn't truly accepted that I was seeing a mountain lion, because I just didn't. I feel like I keep saying that. I truly just did not believe I would ever see one. And I wasn't sure that they were in the, I was pretty sure they were in the area, but I couldn't be 100% sure that they were in the area. So I'm way overconfident in this thing because I just don't have experience being around dangerous animals like that. And I start closing the distance, and then it hits me all of a sudden how quick that thing could close the distance on me. And I know how capable mountain lions are. I've seen the videos and the footage and I've seen videos of them fighting, and you read all the stories about how many hikers get killed by them. A mountain lion that size, at least, a person just doesn't stand a chance hardly if it came after you for sure and you didn't have a weapon. So that's when I put my phone away. I put my phone back in my pocket, and I think I need to get serious about the situation that I'm in right now, because it all dawned on me all of a sudden that I had actually just put myself in a really dangerous situation with this cat. And I'm alone. And like I said earlier, I'm alone. And I'm not even on a public road. I was just on a logging road. So I was just exploring an area where they'd been, logging. So there's no hope of anyone coming after me. No one knew where I was. And, all this stuff floods into my head at the same time. And I think, geez, what did I just get myself into? Because he was not backing away from me. He was just staring at me, and I was thinking he could close this distance between me and him before I could react. I wouldn't be able to get anywhere. I didn't have anywhere to go. And so I started thinking serious. And fortunately, I had made the decision not too long ago that I wasn't going into the woods unprepared anymore. So I put my phone back in my pocket, and I put my hand back here, and and I'm standing there like this now, and I start going back towards my dirt bike, and I creep back around, and I get myself back to where my bike's between me and him, And as I'm standing there, you know, tool in hand, I'm questioning if I'm capable enough to stop him if he starts coming at me. Because I practiced pretty regularly back then, but I didn't know if I was regular enough to stop something coming at me at the speed that I know that they can move if he decided to make it happen. It's the same one I'm holding right now. I felt pretty confident though, because I've got 13 chances with this. And as I'm standing there waiting for something to happen, he just slowly turns around and just disappears into the woods. As soon as he turns around, he's just gone. And as soon as he disappeared, I started my bike and I took off, because I was thinking he could circle around so quick. He was out of sight. I didn't know where he went. He just turned around and went straight back and went, because he was kind of on the top of a hill, so he just, as soon as he went backwards, he went down the other side. And I'm sure he was leaving. I'm sure he was just getting out of there. But, you know, in that moment, I wasn't going to take a chance to stick around. So I took off, and I got a couple of miles down the road before I stopped and decided to review my footage. And I pulled out my phone and I started looking at my pictures and videos and stuff. And the more I looked at them, the more I was just like, that just had to be a mountain lion. I texted it to my family and I said, what do you guys think that this was? And everyone's like, I don't know. The majority of my family isn't really involved in that kind of stuff. They don't really know. My dad said he thought it was unlikely that it was a mountain lion, but after we talked for a long time, he changed his mind and he was like, yeah, after I looked at some pictures of mountain lions, yeah, that's absolutely what it was. And I showed it to the store I used to go to at the time. I was living in a different area, and there was this little store I used to go to all the time. Me and the owner were kind of had gotten to where we were talking, and he was from North Dakota, either North Dakota or Wyoming. And I asked him how familiar he was with mountain lions. He said, "Oh, extremely familiar." He said until I was 40, I was seeing them once a week. And so I showed him that video, and I said, "What do you think that is?" He said, "Oh, that's a mountain lion, 100%." He said, "I've seen too many of them." He said, "Anyone that tells you that's not a mountain lion doesn't know what they're looking at." And I said, okay, that's what I think. And I told him the whole story, and, you know, he was talking about how dangerous that could have been and stuff, how dangerous the situation was, how bad that could have been. And I was like, I know, I was prepared, though. And it's just, the more time that I spend reflecting on that moment, you know, of course your brain thinks of all the different possible outcomes and how it could have changed and stuff. And I know most likely nothing would have ever happened. Nothing did happen. Most likely nothing would have ever happened. But people get attacked by them all the time. And I was truly face to face with one. So that's the story. Like I said, nothing happened. I don't know. I don't even really think anything almost happened. But it's the only time that I've ever had to actually draw on something thinking that I was about to have to perform in self-defense. I have had one other instance where I showed what I had. I've lifted my shirt up just to show what was there to a guy this time that was being a little bit threatening, and that diffused the situation. But that's the only time that I've ever had to. I got my permit with the intention of only ever having to use it against an animal, because I'm really not worried about people in the area that I'm in. And the situations I put myself in, I'm just not usually in an environment where I think that I'm open, where I think that there's a high possibility of ever needing to protect myself from a person. I don't think that I look like a person that would be easy to intimidate or get something over on. I'm always dirty and coming off job sites and driving a work truck or something, so. And you think, you know, if you're gonna be the kind of person that's gonna try to take advantage of someone, are you gonna come after someone that's 25, 6'2", 210, or are you gonna go after someone that's, you know, frail? But I am regularly in the woods by myself. And even though, like I said, there's not that many animals around here that you have to be worried about, there are a lot of just feral dogs, and there's also pigs, and I do see the occasional bear. You know, you never know what kind of situation you can end up in. And then I ended up in that situation. So I can tell you for sure, I'm never going into the woods by myself unprepared again. I haven't ever since then. I used to, that was the intention when I got the permit of why I was getting it, was for going into the woods by myself. And then I was always kind of back and forth. I was just thinking, oh, I feel a little bit ridiculous because I really don't think anything's ever gonna happen. But then that happened, and I have not missed a trip since. Every time I go hiking, every time I go just driving through the woods, every time I go out on my dirt bike. But it's a true story. Hopefully I'm never put in a worse situation than that, but I'm never gonna go into a situation unprepared because of that learning experience. So let me know if you thought this was interesting to you at all. If you guys are interested in hearing more stories like this, obviously I've got a few things, nothing exactly like this, but you know, there's the night I almost spent the night in the woods in my dirt bike. I've got the story of my previous experiences trying to purchase real estate that almost went really badly also. So I guess what I'm trying to say is let me know what you guys think about this one, and thanks for watching.